Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Aiden Athletics. And as you can see, I am in my apartment for the school semester, or rather the school year, sorry. I moved in about a week ago because I had to be here for a marching band camp for a marching Mizzou. But yeah, today is actually the day of classes. I have one about in a few hours. I'm just gonna go ahead and record this video before I have to go to class. So not really in a hurry in any sort of sense, but I just wanted to go ahead and record this video out of the way before I have to edit and all that stuff. But anyways, the college football season is almost here, and the wait is pretty much over at this point. We can finally talk ball, which I am so looking forward to. And what better way to start with my picks for week 0. Week 0, I think, is an interesting week. Obviously, it's the beginning of the season, and plus, I mostly like to see this as sort of the prologue to a season, because while there isn't really a lot of games to watch, there's still at least like a game or two that is pretty compelling, like TCU in North Carolina and Dublin, NC State in Virginia. Those games I think are going to be pretty good. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and get ready with the season with my week 0 picks. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell, because if you like college sports, mainly college football, you've come to the right place. These are my picks for week 0. So let's start off overseas in Dublin, Ireland, with North Carolina and TCU in the Aer Lingus Kickoff Classic. TCU is a 6.5 point favorite, and I understand that most people don't really like these games being overseas, since all of these games aren't supposed to be played on campuses. But I will give this one neutral site game an exception for one reason. I went to Ireland a couple years ago, and I absolutely loved it there, because we got to march down in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which was my first time actually going outside of America to Europe. So yeah, I think that trip kind of holds a special place in my heart. So yeah, I do kind of vibe with the whole Ireland kickoff game, so we'll move on from that. So as for the teams, TCU has a new quarterback in Harvard transfer Jaden Craig, and North Carolina is starting Billy Edwards Jr. from Wisconsin. Bobby Petrino is the new OC, and he's widely considered as one of the best play callers in all of college football. And I think Sonny Dykes actually said that in Big 12 Media Days. In fact, these are all going to be completely new offenses for both teams. Like I said, with Petrino for UNC, and for TCU, they brought over Gordon Samus from UConn. And TCU is going to be a massive sleeper in the Big 12, because they just came off a 9-win season, and Sonny Dykes is still a very underrated head coach. UNC, on the other hand, is odd. Going back to bringing in Bobby Petrino, there's a reason why his offenses are just so good. Like, look what happened to Arkansas last year. They were one of the best offenses in the country with Taylor Green, and they were so close to winning more games than that they should have played in. And you can say what you want about Bill Belichick and Michael Lombardi, all this stuff and whatnot. As for me, I don't think that UNC is going to be a great team this year, but I think that UNC's floor could be higher than what most people think is going to be. Another thing that's interesting is that the Tar Heels actually returned 4 stars on the offense. So there's a lot of familiarity with that side of the ball, and plus with Petrino coming in, that could be a pretty interesting offense to watch. So I think this is going to be a close game, but give me TCU in the game, but I think UNC covers. My score is TCU 27, North Carolina 23. Next, let's head back to the U.S. and head over to the Coliseum, where USC is playing San Jose State. USC is a 38.5 point favorite, and this game is going to be a noon kickoff game, I believe, or later on NBC, but somewhere around that time. And Lincoln Riley seems to have a lot of pressure on him this year. Their schedule is like no joke whatsoever. And people are saying that if USC doesn't make the playoffs, Lincoln Riley is just out, which I think is weird. But on the other hand, there really are a lot of expectations for USC. They have the #1 recruiting class, and Jaden Mayava is coming back with running backs Keen Miller and Waymon Jordan. Gary Patterson is brought in as the defensive coordinator, which I think was one of the most bizarre choices to have. Bringing in a veteran defensive mind like him is just unbelievable. And I think JD Pickles said this, like, bringing in Gary Patterson is like getting the Rolling Stones for your birthday party. It's that crazy. USC did lose Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, but Lincoln Riley is known for having good receivers, so I trust him on that side of the ball. San Jose State, on the other hand, needs to really find themselves with their offense. They were not really a good team last year. I mean, they have a quarterback named Luke Weaver. I don't really know about him, so I don't think the Spartans are going to do anything to cover that spread. So I think USC will win this game 51-13. Next, let's head to Charlottesville, Virginia, where the Virginia Cavaliers, are playing NC State. Virginia is a 5.5-point favorite. The Hoos are actually coming off an 11-win season, which was crazy because that's the first time they've ever had an 11-win season. They brought over Bo Prabula from Missouri, who had, I think, 10 or 11 touchdowns, I don't really know, and 10 interceptions. So I don't really know how he'll play with this new offense. I mean, Tony Elliott has been a pretty good offensive-minded guy. He was at Clemson with Dabo Swinney, so we'll see how this team can maintain that success from last year into this year. Virginia's season last year was kind of a fluke because they played in 4 overtime games and won 3 of those. If they lost those games, their record would have been much lower and worse, and they wouldn't even be in Charlottesville for the ACC championship game. But regardless, I think UAB is going to be kind of inspired from last year, coming off a great season last year. There's no doubt about that. They were one of the biggest surprises of 2025. And they are going to be in that race to go back to the ACC championship game for that number 2 spot. And NC State is doing the exact same thing. CJ Bailey is coming back at quarterback, which is pretty good because he was exceptional last year. And I think Dave Doran has done a pretty good job sort of righting the ship after coming off, I think it was a 6-7 season in 2024, but they won, I think, 9 games this year, which was really good. NC State is probably going to be one of the most underrated teams in the ACC, and I still think Dave Doran is once again a good coach, so I think I like NC State in this game. I think I'm going to go with the experience, and I think CJ Bailey is probably going to have a breakout year this season, so yeah, give me the Wolfpack 30-24. Let us head to Fargo, North Dakota. North Dakota State, the FCS dynasty, is making its FBS debut in the Mountain West. The Bison are a 7.5-point favorite, and they are playing Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, I think is what they are. And I think that NDSU is going to have one of those years where you just don't really see it coming, because on one hand, they may lose a lot of talent, but they just stay right where they are. You lose Cam Miller in 2024, here comes Cole Payton, and he leads them to a great season, even though they lost to Illinois State in the FCS playoffs. But still, ever since NDSU joined the FCS in 2004, it took them until 2011 to really dominate. And when they got there 7 years later, they took over immediately. And sure, they may have some mishaps in the past, like I said, but they just reload over and over and over. Jacksonville State, on the other hand, won 9 games last year, and they lost their quarterback, Cam Cook, or I think he was a running back, I'm not sure, but still, losing a guy like him is massive for this team. So yeah, this will be a pretty interesting matchup to watch. I think it's on CBS Sports, so that would be cool. Oh, and one last thing, these 2 teams played in the FCS National Championship in 2015. The Bison destroyed the Gamecocks 37-10. That's all I'm going to say. NDSU wins 35-20. Okay, so next on my list, I have no idea why I put this game down here, so I'll just go ahead and get this one out of the way. Sacramento State is going to Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan is an 8.5-point favorite. All I can say is that I think it's neat that Sacramento State is joining the FBS, I think. They're joining the MAC, which I think was a weird one that they joined, so I don't really know. They were not really good last year. They were not, so probably just take it or leave it for me. Eastern Michigan hasn't really been clicking it these past few years, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip this one. Oh, it's on ESPN+, so Eastern Michigan wins 24-7. Let's move on. Now, we have an even better game on here. Do not worry. Stanford is hosting Hawaii. Very intriguing night game. It's on ACC Network. Hawaii, I think, is going to be a huge G6 sleeper and is easily a Mountain West title contender. In fact, head coach Timmy Chang recently got an extension, so he's done a pretty good job there. Micah Alejado is returning at quarterback, and he threw for 291 per game last season, I think. And the Rainbow Warriors were in the top 20 in passing last year. So if Alejado could keep those turnovers down, he had 9 of them last year, then this team is going to be a dangerous one to watch in the G6. As for Stanford, which by the way, they're a 3.5-point favorite in this game, they brought in Tavares Pritchard at the head coach, who was the quarterback coach for the Washington Commanders. They brought in Davis Warren, the former Michigan quarterback, and he's going to be in his 5th or 6th year, I believe. But the problem is, he's coming off an ACL injury, and he didn't even play at all last year because Bryce Underwood was playing. And I don't think him recovering from that will help the Cardinal. I don't really know how much energy he'll have, I guess you could say. So I'm going to go for the upset. Last year, these two teams played. It was an instant classic coming down to the last game. Obviously, Hawaii kicking that game-winning field goal with their kicker, I think, was from Japan. That was awesome. But I think this game will be the same. Hawaii wins 24-20. Maybe not ending in a field goal, but we'll see what happens. Finally, we have what I think is going to be the best game of this Saturday. Memphis is going to UNLV. UNLV is a field goal favorite, 3 points. And these two teams have different perspectives coming into this year. Memphis hired new head coach Charles Huff from Southern Miss, which I think was one of the best hires last year. Huff is just a coach who just wins where he goes. He made Marshall a winning program and gave them a MAC championship in 2024, and people were thinking that this was probably one of the best turnarounds that they've seen in the Mid-American Conference. And then he goes off to Southern Miss, who came off a 1-11 season in 2024. He goes 7-6 with them. And dare I say, he might be a better coach than Ryan Silverfield, because while Silverfield had all of those upsets and those good rosters and stuff, he never really finished off strong. Like, if you look at last year, they beat Arkansas at home, which was a pretty good win for the program, because that win was considered the biggest game of that schedule. But they went 8-4 and lost their bowl game, which was weird. UNLV brought in Auburn transfer quarterback Jackson Arnold as their starter. So there is some experience with him, and there will be some good coaching with Dan Mullen after coming off a 10-win season in year 1. But I think Jackson Arnold is going to need to prove that he can fit with his new scheme in Mullen. But I think Jackson Arnold needs to go out and prove that he can fit with this new offensive scheme with Mullen, because people are just immediately crowning UNLV as like the G6 golden boy because of the consistent record and being so close to the playoffs. So all I can say is this: go out there and prove that you are legit UNLV. This game might be the best game in week 0, so I'm going to go with the experience in this game. UNLV wins 34-27. And I'll say it again, UNLV may be the golden boy and all that stuff, but it's true. This is a team that is immediately a Mountain West contender like North Dakota State, and also you could throw New Mexico in there, so don't expect UNLV to be very, very good again, and possibly even ranked. And those are my picks and predictions for week 0. Not really a lot going on here as expected, but that's kind of how it's always been for week 0. It's sort of meant to be like the appetizers for the college football season, while once week 1 comes around next week, that is the main course. So I would say this: enjoy what's on the plate right now and be patient, because the full course will be here, but enjoy what's on the plate right now. We certainly have a really big season ahead of us, and I hope you understand that as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, though, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos in the future. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.